biggest TV shows on television just ended. The Boys, Euphoria, and Stranger Things. And somehow they all managed to massively divide their fan bases. Some people think that the finales were the best masterpieces that they've seen, and others are just left confused. So today we're gonna answer one question. Which TV show ruined itself the least? I have a confession. If you would have told me at the beginning of 2026 that Euphoria would be the one to have the best season finale out of The Boys, Stranger Things, and Euphoria, I would have laughed in your face. Because going into 2025 and 2026, Stranger Things to me was supposed to be the end all be all, tied nightly in a bow, wrapped pretty for us. The Boys was just supposed to have a great ending to a great show. And Euphoria, well, I wasn't too excited about this time jump that we were gonna have just because it took what, 2 to 3 years just for them to film again? Okay. But after watching these 3 finales, I think that Euphoria stuck the landing better than the other 2 shows. And I did not expect to be sitting here today saying that. So let's talk about it. Before we start, obviously, spoilers ahead for all 3 shows. So let's begin with the show that had the ending that disappointed us the most. Stranger Things season finale was doodle caca, garbage, horrendous, terrible, disaster. What's another bad word? Yeah, any word that you're thinking in your head right now, that was Stranger Things season finale to me. I generally just don't think that the ending made sense. I think that I'm not the only one because the whole internet for a whole week, mind you, including me, was thinking that there was gonna be a secret episode where they explained all the mishaps and all the inconsistencies that we've been watching all season. Because you're telling me that we had the literal apocalypse, like the literal end all be all with Vecna, and there was no demi-dogs, there was no demibats, there was no nothing, no new creatures, no upside down army. We spent years building up the upside down as this terrible ecosystem that is just below us. Every season introduced something new, and then the last season is surprisingly empty. The stakes were supposed to be bigger than they ever been, and yet the battlefield felt small. I have to say, I admit, I am a strong believer in divorce gate. That is the belief that what are they called? The Duffer Brothers, right? The Duffer Brothers, one of them was married to a woman who also would help them write the episodes. They got divorced, and this last season finale, it was basically the Duffer Brothers on their own and not with the help of the ex-wife, basically. And that's why it sucked so bad. And I truly believe that theory, because what the hell did we just watch? What the hell did we spend all these years watching if it was just gonna end like that? And then instead of a secret episode, we got a behind the scenes where they basically clearly showed us that ChatGPT was helping them out this last season. And that they didn't even know how it was gonna end while they were still filming the last season. What? And that they had writers in the writing room literally telling them it doesn't make any sense. Why don't we see any other creatures in this last battlefield? Why don't we see, a demibat, but there's nothing? You telling me there's nothing? And they're like, yeah. What? And for a show that defined an entire generation of streaming television, that was just bad writing and such a letdown. Let's talk about The Boys. Now, don't get me wrong. I still very much enjoyed this season. I think that Homelander is one of the greatest TV villains I've ever seen. He generally just terrifies me. And anytime it was a scene with him, I really didn't know what was gonna happen because you know how crazy he is. But the more I sit with the finale, the more I keep asking myself one question. What was the point of all this setup? Seriously, what was the point of bringing back Soulja Boy? What was the point of all this time developing Ryan? What was the point of Gen V? What was the point of introducing Marie and establishing how powerful she is? A power that can potentially match Homelander's. This show spent years building pieces on a chessboard. And when it came time to finally cash in those storylines, it seemed like everybody got sidelined. Every single person. And it's so frustrating because The Boys is actually such a good TV show. But the ending left me with even a bigger problem. The world didn't really change. Yes, Homelander is gone, but Vought still exists. There's still soups around, the corruption still exists, the greed still exists. Literally, the machine that created Homelander is still up and operating, which makes me feel like Homelander wasn't actually the disease. He was just the symptom of the system that is broken. So in reality, a darker ending would have made more sense. Butcher, you know, doing that poison that would have poisoned all soups, killing the problem. That's just temporarily putting things at bay. There can always be another Homelander, especially if a Vought still exists. So in the end, there was no real solution other than unaliving Homelander and maybe another Homelander being brought up 10 years from now. And don't even get me started on Starlight. You're telling me that she's pregnant and she's immediately going off fighting crime? Girl, sit down, take a prenatal vitamin, and tell Huey that you shouldn't be working and fighting crime while you're pregnant. Overall, the finale wasn't terrible, but it made me feel like they were building up something that wasn't really satisfying in the end. I wasn't truly satisfied, but it wasn't Stranger Things bad. Okay, and last but not least, let's talk about today's surprise winner, Euphoria. I actually really liked Euphoria's ending. I think it stayed true to the characters. I think it stayed true to what Euphoria was, even though a lot of the vibe wasn't the same as season 1 or 2. And the whole entire freaking season, I was just on the edge of my seat. I really didn't know what was gonna happen. The tension and the anxiety that I got from even the episode before the season finale was crazy. But let's first off start talking about Rue. A lot of people I see online are upset about Rue's ending, but to be honest, did you really think that it would end another way? Do you really think that she was going to be reunited with her mom? Did you think that she was going to live happily ever after with Jules? That's just not realistic. If you are an addict like Rue is, and Rue just loves it's I don't even know if Rue loves Trouble or Trouble loves Rue. I don't know which one came first, the chicken or the egg. Just know that they go together. Rue and Trouble go together real bad. So you just knew, if you are a true Euphoria fan, that Rue was going to get unalived by the end of this whole TV show. And this might be controversial, but I feel like Alamo unalived her in a gentle way. It could have been way more horrific, but it wasn't. But it was a way that people expected her in her immediate life to go out. Jewel wasn't surprised, Maddie wasn't surprised, Cassie wasn't surprised, you know what I'm saying? So I think it was a good ending. Then we have Maddie and Cassie. Nate being unalived to me kind of surprised me, but then it didn't, because I always thought that Nate and Cassie was never gonna go anywhere. It's obvious, and this might be a hot take, but it's obvious that Nate was supposed to be with Jules. I don't know why they scrapped that story line after season 1. I think it's because the actual actors were fighting amongst each other. In reality, Nate was supposed to be with Jules, and Cassie and Maddie are actual toxic soulmates, if you ask me. And that's why at the end of the season, they're together still. They kind of go together. They're Betty and Veronica, you know? They're sugar and spice. They just go well. In conclusion, if I had to rank the season finales of the biggest TV shows of this year, it would be The Stranger Things at number 3, The Boys at number 2, and surprisingly, Euphoria at number 1. But let me know down in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you think that Stranger Things was just a terrible dookie season? Do you think The Boys could have done a little bit better with the character development? And do you agree with me that Euphoria was actually pretty satisfying? Let me know down in the comments. My name is Asia Lynn. I love everything 90s, early 2000s, and pop culture, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!